All right, so we're diving deep today into this whole idea of what makes art cool.
Cool.
I was looking at some stuff and it kind of hit me that we don't always think of like classical music or, like a giant cathedral as being cool in the same way we might think about like a super fast car.
Right.
And it got me thinking like, can these like more serious art forms actually be cool?
It's a really interesting question,
Yeah.
because the way we usually think about cool, especially here in America, is like something fun,
Yeah.
easy to enjoy,
Right.
not too, brainy or anything. You just kind of get it and it feels good.
Totally. That immediate like gut feeling.
Yeah.
But the stuff we're looking at today, it suggests there's another side to it. Like maybe engaging with things that are a bit more, serious or substantial can also be cool.
Yeah.
And that made me think of surrealist art, like a Dali painting with the melting clocks. That's got to be cool, right?
Oh, absolutely. And it's funny how that same kind of like dreamlike abstract quality that makes surrealism cool seems to have popped up in other art forms too. Like think about music videos from the 60s, 70s, 80s.
Oh,
They
yeah.
often went way beyond just showing the band playing. They got really abstract, almost like little art films themselves.
That's so true. It's like they were trying to like visually interpret the music in a way that wasn't totally literal.
Right.
And the text even says that like a music video that was too literal was considered not cool.
Was that cool?
It had to have that element of interpretation to be engaging.
Exactly. And that whole idea of interpretation that spills over into how we look at art in museums and galleries too. The text talks about how there's a certain coolness in just appreciating different kinds of art, whether it's figurative, minimalist, abstracts, even if you don't totally get it right away.
Right.
It's about being open to it.
It's almost like tolerance becomes part of being cool,
Yeah.
Not just dismissing something because it's outside your comfort zone.
Totally.
The text makes a good point that art isn't always trying to be like superior or anything.
Yeah.
The meaning comes from how we interact with it. So there's coolness in that open-mindedness in acknowledging the artist's work, even if you're still trying to figure it out.
And that's actually a really interesting contrast with how rock and roll started out. It was
Yeah.
all about rebelling against what it saw as the arrogance of high art.
Now, it's funny because as rock and roll gets older,
Right.
it's kind of becoming its own version of high art. That vintage sound that people love, so much like what happened with jazz.
Yeah, totally. And there was a time when people thought that rock from the 60s and 70s would be the classical music of the future.
Right.
But, reading this stuff makes you wonder if that's still true. I mean, things have changed so much.
Yeah.
But it all goes back to that personal experience with art. Like the author talks about becoming a huge Beethoven fan in the 80s.
Yeah.
Buying all the scores, really getting into the symphonies.
Right.
For them, that was cool. It was a personal connection that really made it click.
And that's a really important takeaway. Coolness isn't some fixed thing. It's different for everyone. You can find it in all kinds of arts, whether it's something traditionally seen as serious or something more modern. What makes it cool is that you're willing to engage with it, to be open to it, and to find your own meaning in it.
Exactly.
So as you go about your day, maybe think about the things that you think are cool. Do your definitions line up with what we've been talking about? And is there some piece of serious art out there that you might look at a little differently now through a different lens of coolness?